Hi there, welcome to Sports Center. I'm Dan Patrick. Plenty of good stuff to get to on the program tonight. But first, our top story of the day. Sega Sports, the authority in sports video gaming, has drafted ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, as a key player to boost its critically acclaimed Sega Sports franchises to a higher level in order to score with gamers. Let's have a look, shall we? First to the NFL, and the Patriots, the Cinderella story of last year, took everyone by surprise. They will have the bullseye on them this year.
Oh, check out these moves. Oh, that's gotta hurt.
All right. Hello, everybody. This is Francisco, joined once again by my good buddies Andrew and Charles here for Sports Goofs episode 61. We're getting there. We're getting high up in there. So, what's up, guys?
Not much. How are you?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I was just telling you guys about how awful, well, not awful, just incredibly lazy my day was yesterday. Just complete, like it was one of my, I guess, YouTuber that I watch, Brent Daniel, he calls it his trash day, where he just wants to feel like an other piece of garbage. Just, you know, you don't shower, you don't go outside. I mean, I went outside, but very briefly. You don't go outside, you just kind of wallow in your filth for like a day. And then you snap out of it and it's like, oh, I gotta get out of this and take a shower and clean up your room and just become a functioning member of society again. But that's what I did yesterday. But how are you guys?
Surviving. I mean, like I was telling you beforehand, I had court today, and you know, we're trying to figure out the video conferencing. So there's always that concern of trust when, and I think everybody feels this, whether it's in the real world, the video world, where we're gaming. If we're not the control or we're not the host, because we know our technical savvies, we feel that the next person doing it is going to bungle it. And boy, do they bungle it sometimes when they accidentally shut you off, when they forget to invite a client and they're yelling at you saying that your client's not answering because you haven't invited her yet. Or when the other attorney has his desk turned away to do some actual work and, you know, give that person an opportunity to just call the other person and be like, hey, you're ready. So it's what I call dress rehearsal. What scares me, and I think for both of you going in there, I have friends in the legal profession who are enjoying the Zoom procedures, at least for non-evidentiary hearings. All what I do is evidentiary. I'm not a big fan of them. One, because I'm just too conceited and vain. So I'm looking at myself because, you guys, Baby Viking is in full force and effect. We're on week 4. I'm going for the Wolverine look. And when I say I'm going for the Wolverine look, it's going for the merger of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, ideally the Wolverine, the 2012 movie, I think it was 2012, and the X-Men, the animated series comic book look.
Okay.
Merged into one. Like May 29th, we're going to shave the chin, but we're going to keep the mutton chops. My family's wondering why I shaved like the mustache. It's because, you know, Hispanic background. I don't have the strong genes to fully grow it, so I just rather have the mutton chops or the the Taft or the Abraham Lincoln kind of beard going on. But we have a goal in mind. A lot of my young childhood, teenage years is spent being Peter Parker. Now I just want to be James Howlett, a.k.a. Logan, a.k.a. Wolverine in my 30s. Because why not? I'm like 5'7". He was like a 5'4" Canuck. I'm not Canadian, but if I'm going to be an honorary Canadian, I'd rather be for that reason as opposed to just being stuck in Canada. So I guess for me is that as we go into the virtual stages, everything, because now it's court procedure, now it's going to be the NFL draft, and I find that very amusing because if I got a judge who's trying just to be a host for a Zoom meeting without hopefully not having pornography appear in the middle, because I'm sure you guys have and everybody out there listening, if your attorney does not dress up in a suit and tie on a Zoom conference, you better fire them, because right now, with a lot of continuance that are happening, you're paying for them to look the part, be the part. They better be coming in like Phil Jackson or Pat Riley on court day. I don't care if it's a UMC motion, or I don't care if it's a full-blown evidentiary here for an hour. Do not allow them to swindle your money because underneath they're wearing a Disney World shirt. Don't be that client. Don't be that victim. But now, because if you imagine a judge is having this issue, I can't wait till later this week, where you're going to have IT guys outside of the NFL GM having to explain to them why their infrastructure is failing because they have bad internet connectivity. The way of the future is comedy, gentlemen. That's my viewing of this week of what we had prior to everything.
Oh boy, Andrew, how you doing, man? How's it going?
Not bad, just working. Not really anything special to report. That's not a...
Well, hold on now. You got a certain video game that you just got into, and we had a nice couple, well, not just a couple, a bunch of games this past weekend.
That's true. Played my first online games of Rocket League. That was a lot of fun. Apparently, I'm getting better.
It was... Well, the mode is gone, by the way. The Heat Seeker game or mode, whatever that they had for, I guess, this past week, and we had a OG Sports Goof Doug actually join us. That was a very nice throwback there, and we I think we had a winning record. I know that for sure. I know we had a winning record.
Freaking enforcer, man.
Yeah. So and we posted this on our YouTube page, at least. Well, actually on all of our pages. The game that we most especially played was a certain trio that decided to get a little rough. They had a goon coming at me because apparently I was basically Marc-Andre Fleury on steroids for a bit during our gameplay. So Doug basically just became Ty Domi and just utter annihilation to the other team to allow me and Andrew to take care of the scoring and win the game. We were down 3-0 and came back to win 7-5, which was probably the most satisfying game of Rocket League that I've ever played, and I've played thousands of games now. So that was really good. And I think, Andrew, you're starting to get used to the physics of it. It's a little different. And Charles, I know you've played some already too. So yeah, you can.
We had a little trial session.
Yeah, you can look for that Sports Goofs, as we're gonna call it, every time we post something there. So yeah.
So wait, you said they got rid of that type?
It was a temporary, it's like every, I don't know, maybe like once a month or something, they have like a temporary like experimental mode that they have, and so that was it. So yeah, from now on, we're just regular modes now. Basketball's super hard. Of course, I play strictly hockey, and soccer. But let me know, anybody who wants to play with us. Our gamer tags and stuff and everything are down there. We're on the Switch, on the PS4. We're going to be on the PC as well. I'm going to get that gaming PC finally. And yeah. So, okay, Freddie. So Gronk is what you posted there. And I guess we'll jump right into the NFL because there has been some news as we're getting the run up here to the 2020 draft this Friday. We might do a reaction stream, live reactions as it goes on. So thinking about doing that. But there's been some news out of Tampa Bay as Tom Brady enjoying himself out there in Central Florida, renting out our Lord and Savior Derek Jeter's home, getting kicked out of public parks. He's got a friend that's joining him. Charles, who is this guy?
I got a question.
Yeah.
Well, I got even a bigger question because I think this is the lawyer in me. Is Brady kicked out of parks because?
All right. Hello. Did we lose you? Oh, that's me. Actually, that's me. Hold on a second. Give me a second.
It's a quarantine.
Hear you.
Oh, sorry. That was my connection. Nope. I somehow
Okay.
it kind of dropped
all
on
I
me
see
for
is
a bit.
on Twitch, there's a little bit of stalling.
Okay, now I hear you. Now you're back. Go ahead, Charles.
Okay. Well, there goes my. All right. So there goes my Tom Brady staying 500 feet away from the park joke. But let's go to the real.
Well,
like,
you can
stupid
say
nuts of
it.
this,
Nobody
right?
heard it.
Gronk's going
If
to
I didn't
Tampa.
hear it,
The
nobody else
trade
heard it.
was- It's probably better that I don't say it. But think about it this way: have you ever seen Horrible Bosses?
Yes.
Do you remember the reason why Charlie Day couldn't, was labeled as a sex offender in the movie? It was something akin to that. I don't want us, a budding esport and famous podcast, soon to be famous podcast, to be killed by the death sentence of Tom Brady. He already did that to the Patriots. Let's not have him do it here. But the trade was New England was basically blackballed because Gronk's like, hey, I'm willing to come back, but I don't want to play for anybody else. I don't, except with anybody that has Tom Brady, so I don't want to play for you. So trade me. And so Brady gets a tight end who has had a year of recovery. Belichick gets a 4th round pick. And I'm super invested in hoping that the Patriots don't suck this year so I can get a Buccaneers-Patriots Super Bowl. I know it sounds unholy, but there's a reason why. Because now I really feel like Bill Belichick is just surviving to be the bane of Tom Brady's existence. Because Gronk has 1 year left on his contract, $10 million. The Buccaneers, in theory, were already stacked offensively. They have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. They had O.J. Howard, who isn't a Gronk-level tight end, but he's healthy-ish and isn't as broken. But it kind of feels like, I'm just going to say it, it's prima donna-ish that Gronk's coming out of retirement because he wants to be with Brady and essentially demanded a trade. Even though it might be the sweetest demand, it's still a demand because the Patriots had every right to trade him anywhere. Let me tell you something. 31 other teams would have probably wanted Gronkowski. So in theory now, if they don't trade O.J. Howard before the draft, and I think it's going to be post-draft, to be honest with you. I think whoever gets him, hell, I'll take O.J. Howard. I'll funnel him up with Jonnu Smith. We won't pick up his 5th-year option, but we'll do something to have a twin tight end over in Nashville for the tight ends. But still, it's an idea. But so Brady's going to have him again, and everybody's kind of going to hype. And I see this as 2 things. So, Freddie, to answer your first question, we're going to overreact just because Gronk's going to add 1 win. So they're going to go from 6-10 to 7-9. And then 2, we're doing the same reaction of what we did a year ago when the Browns got Odell Beckham Jr. And look what that turned out. Because here's the thing. I'm at this point where is Bruce Arians the right guy to lead this master class of aerial assault for a quarterback who I'm not even certain can throw past 15 yards if he doesn't have the perfect amount of time and protection? I told you when Brady got signed, and I'll say it again, they don't have a running back. I don't have faith in Ronald Jones to be a serviceable every down back. Peyton Barber's not the guy. They have an offensive line issue. Are they also going to go draft a linebacker? Or are they going to kind of recoup some draft picks? Because 2 of your star players, quotation marks in the air now because you've acquired Brady and you've acquired Gronk, are kind of in the twilight of their careers. Brady is 42, and even though he's on a 2-year contract, anything can happen, man. One bad busted leg, he's out. He can go the way of Alex Smith.
I feel like the Buccaneers are hoping that Tom Brady is Brett Favre when he went to the Vikings initially and got them to the NFC Championship. I think that's what they're kind of banking on, that Tom Brady can do that, but better. It almost feels that way.
And it might be. You know who the real winner is, guys, of this Gronk to the Bucks thing? I won't even call it a trade because, a gun to the head is not really consent in this situation. That's how I feel Belichick was. The real winner is the Bucks organization, because I went to a Buccaneers game last year when they played the Saints in December, and there was really hardly anybody there, and Jameis Winston was god-awful. But now those ticket prices are going to go up. The jersey merchandise is going to sell. You're going to have a lot of the snowbirds who are going to be like, hey, because the NFL, it already is this way with fantasy football, but now it's just going to open up the doors to a 2-tier fan system. And you can justify being a Patriots fan and saying, well, let me have an NFC team. Oh, and by the way, this NFC team has both Brady and Gronkowski, so let's root for them as an NFC team as opposed to the Detroit Lions, who are taking all the little Jam Bradys instead of the Marshas over there in Detroit. So it really benefits them. And if anything, it's going to benefit also Bruce Arians, because the guy was kind of running on thin ice in Arizona with Steve kind of blundering everything and not getting the right quarterback. But it's a way of saying, listen, my 7-9 year, even though I'm a supposed master coach, meant nothing. I had a quarterback who threw 30 picks and fumbled a lot. Now I'm going to get this guy that is known to be possibly the greatest Super Bowl quarterback of all time and just best quarterback of all time, even though he only has 2 MVPs compared to Peyton Manning's 5 MVPs this season, but who's counting? He's a tactician, he's surgical, and we're also going to add his buddy who is a legitimate red zone threat. Now, mind you, whenever they do get to the red zone, if they make it to the red zone, let's say all things go well, you're going to have tall boy Mike Evans, and then you're going to have the Gronk being in the middle catching balls. I would kind of be afraid for defenders all around. But like I said, I'm not going to kind of, get too excited early for the Buccaneers, because in that division alone, they still have to beat the Saints. You're the king until you're dethroned, right? So they're king of the South. And then over in the NFC, it's only getting tougher. You ask me, between the Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers, there's a wild card team and a division leader. And maybe if the hype on Kyler Murray, and I understand he was rookie of the year, I still think it was rigged, is legitimate, and Arizona can do something with, well, it was, but we'll talk about that on a different day, when DeAndre Hopkins is traded there and they can actually get some defenders, that might be another second wild card team. And over in the NFC North, the Vikings, if they find a replacement for Stephon Diggs. So are the Buccaneers really contending for a Super Bowl position with this trade, or are they doing enough to shore up their entire team to help them be just a wild card team? Because at best, it's just a wild card team. Because you look at the Saints, and we'll go back to that division, because you want to win the division because that guarantees you possibly home games, and that guarantees you possibly a berth. Being a wild card team is not acceptable, because what do we know about Brady? He can't survive an entire playoff season. You want to know how I know? Because we whooped him in the first round this year. He's so used to being the division buys. You look at last year, or 2 years ago, before they were eliminated, when they went to the Super Bowl, they had the benefit of being the number 1, the number 2, and they get the extra rest, the extra preparation. His body takes it and allows him to go on and work as a team. Mind you, I'm comparing apples and oranges, because the receivers on the Buccaneers are vastly superior, but I'm just using it as an example of what they're used to. But you still have to beat a team that has Drew Brees, who might be healthy again this year. He was injured last year. They don't have Teddy Bridgewater, but let's not play the speculation game if healthy. I hate that. It makes no sense to me, because last year, this is this year. If the expectation that person is there in game 1, let them ride it through to 1 through 16 until they're benched, dead, or injured, right? So then they're going to have Michael Thomas. Then they're going to have Emmanuel Sanders. They're still going to have, I think it's Traquan Smith. They might draft another receiver in a very receiver-deep class in the second round, even the first round. They still have Marshawn Lattimore, this whole defensive line that comes into it. And they still have Alvin Kamara. I still feel that you're going to get another bruiser to complement it, aside from the backup who they have, who used to be the former starter in Minnie and in Oakland, I believe. I forgot his name because it's irrelevant at this point. New season, right? But that's still a well-oiled machine, and you gotta think with each step.
Yeah, there's that's just looking within their division. They have to contend with New Orleans. I mean, Atlanta had a better second half to their season. They necessarily haven't gone away. Of course, there's some things. There's some question marks with Atlanta, but they haven't gone away either. Well, the Panthers are starting over now that Cam Newton's gone. But that's just within their division. Then you have to look at the rest of the NFC. You have San Francisco that has risen. So it's not like Tom Brady is about to. I mean, he's been in the AFC all this time. Whatever, he's had competition, and everything like that, contended with Peyton Manning, all that stuff, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. But now he's in the NFC. Never played there. Never really competed against those teams. Within his division is another Hall of Fame quarterback, which he's never actually had to contend with.
Let's say 2.
His entire
Matt Ryan there.
His entire time with the Patriots, the AFC East has been awful. I mean, the one time there was even a semblance of competition were those 2 years that the Jets went to the AFC Championship game, and that was it. But other than that, It's just been and what when he got injured and the Dolphins happened to take the division, that was just like a fluke of a year, anyways. So it's been smooth sailing for him for so long that I don't think he's just gonna come into Tampa Bay and suddenly win a division and have a first round bye. And I mean, look what happened with losing a first round bye did to them last year. And that's with Bill Belichick and those guys. I don't know if that's. I wouldn't say Bruce Arians is on the level of Bill Belichick with regards to coaching resume. So, yeah, the Buccaneers. I mean,
So
it'd be
let me
funny
ask you-
if throughout all of this, I mean, the Buccaneers have been having mediocre records their entire time with Jameis Winston at 7-9, 8-8, and all this jazz. If they finish with the same record, then they've gone nowhere with an even older quarterback.
So let me ask you guys this. Why have we afforded Brady this mystique of him going to another team can make that team even better? I can really only name 2 or 3 quarterbacks right now in the entire NFL that I felt that if they were popped away and put into a different team could amplify it. It reminds me of Brett Favre when he went to the Jets, because remember, they were destructive in that AFC East, and then came the elbow injury that derailed him. Because there's only a few guys. The way that Brady plays is not that gunslinger approach. And we give the mystique because we're saying 20 plus years, it's like 17 AFC title East or titles, and then all this other jazz of 6-time Super Bowl and all that stuff. But the reason why it's the model of consistency is not just of his performance as a player. Mind you, still only 2-time NFL MVP coming into, MVP coming into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as like he was plug and play. Do you know who was plug and played? Peyton Manning. He went to the Broncos, and it was a torrential downpour of FU bombs to Jim Irsay over there to Indy from Denver's own. The reason why is that the organization that Brady played with was the model of consistency.
Well,
And
John Elway
that's what
was
kept them
building
going.
something, was building towards something, and he knew he needed a quarterback that could get him over the top, and not just any quarterback. He had a Hall of Famer there, an all-time great. So, but I think I get what you're saying. The Buccaneers haven't really been building up to this. It wasn't.
If it's anything, it's a windfall, right?
Yeah.
It was the perfect storm. The only thing they did right was signing Mike Evans for an extension, because apparently Bill O'Brien doesn't believe in giving dominant top 5 receivers money, but that's a different team and a different organization. But continue.
Yeah, I mean, it's. Well, Tom Brady has earned, of course, all the compliments and the accolades and all that stuff, but I don't know if it seems like it's too late. I feel like we're gonna get Joe Montana with Kansas City, or baseball terms, Willie Mays with the New York Mets. It could reach that, or we're just gonna get a service. I don't know if the Buccaneers are, because Jameis Winston was so Jekyll and Hyde. He was great one minute, and then the next minute he was awful. I don't know if they'd be really content with Hall of Fame quarterback, but of course all the way down in his at the end of the twilight of his career. We're pretty much at the end of his career. We just need him to be a game manager. He's the ultimate game manager for all the last minute Super Bowl victories and all that stuff. So I don't know if they'll be content with a average quarterback at this point. Maybe that's what they want, and they want to surround him with the pieces and everything that he wants. But it is. I still feel this is like a knee-jerk maneuver by the Buccaneers to do something. Do something, whether it's for marketing purposes, whether it's to sell all those Tampa Bay jerseys or whatever that him and the Bucs and Tom Brady will be making loads of money off of. But it seems so. Well, I guess the good point that you made was with the Broncos. I felt like the Broncos built up to that. Like John Elway was like building up to this team being something greater, whereas the Buccaneers are like, oh, let's try and see if Tom Brady will work for this. And it doesn't seem like they are building up to this contention that they're suddenly thinking that they're going to be automatically now with Brady.
And may I ask you guys this question? Let's say all this is for naught, and my prediction of them going 7-9 is actually correct, which would surprise me because I like to be wrong sometimes, not in this endeavor. But let me ask you this. Brady, who has known his entire career to succeed on a 2-year deal, that is what he has, and I think it's essentially guaranteed regardless. They go anything lower than, let's say, 9-7 or even 8-8, because there's that idea of the veteran always says one more year with the right team. Does Brady just call it quits? Because then he finds himself in the cesspool of what a lot of old veteran quarterbacks who have to hang it up, not because their body's given away, but because it's too far gone on the team itself and they're so far back. Because one day the salary cap will hit you. One day you have money invested in this tight end, this receiver, and then you got to get a new running back, and you got to invest in this quarterback. You go below 500, are you off in the sunset? Because he hasn't done that. He hasn't been in a situation like that. And I know he wants to go away on his terms, but it's not like basketball where you could be the shining star on a turd team, because football is you're reliant on the other people. So if the guys that you have keep dropping passes, the linemen keep fumbling the ball when they're snapping it, the receivers, fumble themselves, what have you, the defense just gets shredded like they did 2 years ago. You want to be in that environment?
Yeah, so I'm looking back at, let's see, Brett Favre was 41 years old when he finally retired. Tom Brady is now 42. He is on a 2-year contract with the Bucs. I'm thinking, if it's disastrous, would he demand a trade to someplace else, and would the Bucs oblige? I think, well, it all depends on how he does. I think he would probably, even if he had a bad season, I think he would chalk it, and if the team was bad, I think he would mentally chalk it up to, well, I had a bad team. Bruce Arians wasn't the coach. He wasn't the right guy. I'll go to, I don't know, what's another fringe team that's kind of been knocking on the door lately, and hasn't really gotten over the top. Not sure. Well, trying to think. What would be a fringe team that kind of would try to put themselves over the top? I don't know, the Chargers.
The fringe team that tried
the Raiders,
was Minnesota.
The Raiders. I could see the Raiders doing something like that.
Maybe. I mean, he is a Bay boy. Granted, he's going to Las Vegas, but Tom Brady in Vegas actually sells more money to me as your quarterback instead of Derek Carr. Poor Derek Carr. Remember, Gruden wanted to get Brady, but I think the owner was just like, nah, it's not happening for numerous reasons coming into it. But a lot of teams are set onto the future, and I think what happened was, had Jameis not thrown 30 picks, even if he had 20, I don't think they would have let him kind of go, because you could probably have got him at a cheap deal, or not cheapest, but a cheaper deal, right? Because here's the issue. If I'm them and I really say offensive tackle isn't what I need, I would trade out into the back in the first round, acquire first in a couple of seconds, because I would get another premier player on the line, and then you kind of have to go for the quarterback of the future as well, and give them the Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers effect, that in case Brett really pisses you off, Aaron Rodgers was ready, right? Because that's what happened. Fate came in, put her in the game, Rodgers showed some potential, and that allowed them to make the decision to move on. Mm-hmm. And the same, they could get Jordan Love if they wanted. I don't know enough about him. All I know is people tell me to ride that hype train, and it's the same equivalent of Patrick. I didn't know who Patrick Mahomes was, but I knew who Deshaun Watson was. I knew who all the other the quarterbacks were, but people were like Patrick Mahomes, and it turned out they were right. And that's one, when you listen to like analysts and draft experts, and we kind of touched upon it last week, and I don't like to listen to them because they're just buzzing sounds, but this is the time I do tune in. When they tell me a quarterback has potential if given time, and you look at someone like Patrick Mahomes, who got to sit really the whole year except for one game in his rookie year and came out to be just a monster, I'm going to listen. So maybe you got to do that, because right now, I don't know if you can go all in, dive headfirst into the water and not know if it's shallow or deep, because Brady at the end of the day is 42, 43. And he had a very revealing interview, I think it was on Howard Stern's show or one of them, about how his family life was kind of a little bit upturned because it was always football.
Yeah.
He's got young boys. His wife is very much like, you need to get your act together.
Yeah.
At some point, responsibility comes knocking. And right now, I think he's just trying to be the money man, because what he might want to do in the future is create the TB agency and just be who knows, right? I'm just speculating, but it's a very interesting for the Buccaneers. But long story short, because I've taken a lot of everybody's time on this, you did all this to go 7-9. You're celebrating winning a Super Bowl in April. You're doing what the Browns did, and that's why when the first week when the Browns played the Titans and we beat them, Delaney Walker says, you want to crown him, you still got to play the game. And in this situation, oh man, there's so many people in the NFC that you just like Game of Thrones, man. Who really rules the Seven Kingdoms?
Right.
But that's just my thoughts on Brady and the Gronk and all that other fun stuff coming into it.
Yeah, how's that going to affect this WWE contract?
I will talk about that on the cage.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll push off on that. Let's see. Andrew, do you have anything you want to talk about football-wise? Draft coming up? Anything, has to do with college football, or is it pretty much just everybody with their college teams trying to see how many of the guys picked, trying to get the numbers up for each of their schools? That's what's going down most likely? Because there's a lot of
how about this?
college football fans
Andrew,
that are just strict college football fans,
Yeah, Andrew, is there a UCF player, and I did not really watch a lot of it, is there a UCF player that you hope gets drafted that you know that has entered into the draft? I don't know. So if there's a highlight guy that you want to give, because UCF has produced some guys throughout the years, is there a guy that you know that's possibly, maybe not in the first day, but day 2 or day 3 of the draft that you're hoping, a player that has kind of entered their name into the draft?
Yeah. There's one guy that has, I honestly think has potential to be a day 1 guy, but all the prognosticators have him as going in either the 2nd or 3rd round, and that would be Gabriel Davis, who is a receiver. He left early. He's a junior. Some would argue that he was. It's inarguable that he was one of the best receivers in UCF history. There's no doubt about that. And he probably would have broken a lot of records if he had stayed for another year. And bear in mind, that includes Brandon Marshall, Brashad Perriman, trying to think of other, Traquan Smith, you mentioned him earlier. He went to UCF. There's a couple of other pretty high-profile wide receivers that have come out of UCF. He absolutely torched Stanford last season, and that was kind of his coming out party to the nation. We had all known that he was a very special player since he came in freshman year, but that was kind of him saying, hello, world. He actually did a bit of personal training with Brandon Marshall this offseason in preparation for the draft, so I assume that helped. And whoever gets him is getting a legitimate threat. He may not be the biggest guy out there, but he is fast.
Yeah, they got him at the 40-yard at 4.54.
Yeah, pretty quick.
He's pretty quick, and he's also able to. He's very
35-inch vertical jump. Wow.
Not just that, but he also is he's acutely aware of his surroundings. There was there's a clip of him at the combine where he made like an over the shoulder or over the head catch, kind of leaning to his left because it wasn't exactly the greatest throw. But he made the catch look easy and kind of saved face for whoever that quarterback was. He's hyper aware of his surroundings and his place in space, so he's able to kind of contort himself or angle himself in ways to make catches without compromising positioning or whatever. So he's very good at that.
How's his hand? Is he high or low on the drop level? Because if I'm a GM, if I love to play this game,
he doesn't drop a lot. He's
so
very
he's the Clifford
sure-handed.
Franklin, basically. If anybody's seen the replacement, he's got the stickums on his hands.
Yeah, obviously he wears the stickum gloves like everyone does, but he does not drop a lot. To the point where, look at some of his highlight film. We're more surprised if he dropped the ball. Very low drop rate. Next, I would have to say is Neville Clark. He was one of our defensive backs. He also left early. Very solid guy for us. He made a lot of big plays when it counted. A few big interceptions for us. He'll be very solid, whoever picks him up. I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible here. He wasn't as splashy or make the waves that Gabriel Davis did on the receiving end, but then again, very rarely do you have a defensive player really get the same amount of attention as a wide receiver will. But his big thing is he's a real ball hawk. He's okay at tackling, but his big thing is he is very good at reading the quarterback and reading plays and letting it develop, and then he'll come in just out of the middle of nowhere and intercept the ball. He has very high football IQ and awareness. I guess sort of. I'm not comparing necessarily to his skill set, because I don't know nearly enough about football players. But I'd say his IQ is up there. His recognition is up there with let's say Richard Sherman during Legion of Boom days.
That's pretty good, and that's kind of definitely something there. Yeah, Sherman was a 5th round pick out of Stanford that had to earn his keep, and he's one of the premier guys. And a small school like UCF, if they have a guy who gets the reps in, gets elevated on the bench and on the depth chart, has this opportunity, could do something great.
And then I guess the last guy I want to highlight, and we have a few guys in the draft this year that can be solid contributors. I'd say the last person that I would highlight is Adrian Tillins. He's a running back for us, and he is, by really any sort of metrics, especially in football metrics, he's a running back. He is tiny. He's 5'8", and I want to say 160 pounds. Let's see, he may have picked up some weight since the last time I looked it up. Let's see. He hasn't picked up
more of the Darren Sproles kind of effect. Is he?
He is fast as fuck.
Is he more of a pass catching, or is he pass catching? Is he more for running in the lines? Is he a guy who hits the edge?
I'm trying to look up his combine stats here.
He's definitely more of an edge guy. He is able to run up the middle, especially if he has a very good offensive line, which is what we had in 2017, which is where he made like a real name for himself nationally. I mean, I would argue, and I think a lot of people would agree, he was the fastest player in college football his whole career, which is 2016 to 2019.
I like this. Yeah, I mean, they got it here as on the first thing that pops up here. And the first two videos of him are titled Speed Kills.
No, seriously, though. He's ridiculously fast. I mean, he was a track star in high school, so that makes sense. 5'8", 164 was his measurements in his senior year. Let's see, 2017, which was his sophomore year, he ran for 790 yards, 10 touchdowns on 122 carries. He is very versatile, though. He caught 25 passes for 169 yards. His big thing is speed. I've never seen anyone as fast as him, and I've seen some fast guys at UCF. Not personally necessarily, but we've had really fast guys. We've had Quincy McDuffie. We've had who else? Storm Johnson was okay in speed. Shit. It's killing me that I forget his name. Mike Hughes was also pretty decent, but he's the fastest person I've ever seen. If he gets out in open space, he's gone. That's it. You're done. In 2016, his freshman year, we were playing Michigan.
Yeah.
He had an 87-yard touchdown.
That's the photo that pops up here that I just showed right here on the screen. But yeah.
He blew them out of the water. Like, that you would think that those players were on a Division III team. He was just blazing past them so quickly. Track champion. His senior year in high school, he ran a 21-second 200-meter and a 10.53 100-meter, which is, for a high schooler, pretty quick. So, like I said, he's not big. So he definitely will. There's very small chance that he would end up, being like a bruising, Christian McCaffrey or even Latavius Murray, who also went to UCF. Those guys are. I
mean, you don't have to necessarily be big when you're a running back. I mean, Barry Sanders was his size. He was 5'8". So.
But he could
that's
break
Barry
tackles.
Sanders.
He could break tackles though.
Yeah.
AK.
Yeah, he had more weight on him. That's for sure.
And it's not a strong running back draft either, so there's plenty of potential for him to get in the middle rounds, I would say.
It's definitely possible. I mean, more than likely, I imagine he'll be a UDA drafted free agent, just because. I mean, for the same reason that not a lot of people offered him out of high school, which is he's tiny. Or for example, Mackenzie Milton, he's quote unquote tiny for a quarterback. But look how effective he's been. Same thing with Adrian here. He's small both in height, although that doesn't matter as much, but more importantly in weight. So he's going to be an easier person to tackle.
Yeah, he'd have to put on like 30, 40 pounds or something,
But that would end up hurting him.
Yeah.
Because his thing is speed.
Yeah.
And the last couple of years under Josh Heupel, he's become more of a multi-purpose player. He'll catch passes out of the flats or out of a bubble screen.
I mean, do you think he could be like on special teams, just returning kickoffs or something?
He could definitely be like if a team didn't want him at running back, they would absolutely have him as a kick returner, no doubt. If he gets a seam anywhere, he's going to be gone. He served as a matter of fact, he was a kick returner for us for we rotated our kick returners. But he was one. There was one in particular against ECU where he just blew past everybody. So, no matter where they put him, if they put him kind of as a, an outside receiver or a guy that can go to the edge as a running back or as a kick returner, his speed will be a huge asset for whoever picks him up.
Okay.
And like I said, there are a couple of other guys out there. Nate Thompson. There's a couple of other guys that could go on, but those are like the big three that people may know on a national level. Gabe Davis, he's going to be drafted, period. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about that. He could be in the first round. I think he could be a first rounder. I don't necessarily know how deep the wide receivers are this draft.
It's ridiculous, man. Like there's at least projected, there's at least projected 5 or 6 receivers going within a lot of the mock drafts in the first round alone. So compile that with the first 2 rounds. You could still get a lot of talent in that third round coming into it. There's plenty of names out there that can show, because aside from Jerry Jeudy, you have Justin Jefferson from LSU, you have T. Higgins from Clemson, Henry Ruggs III, Brandon Ayuk, you have a few other guys that come into it. Now you add in Gabe Davis to get a guy who you say could be a starter after some time seasoning in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round is just a boon for whatever team drafts him and keeps him.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of people are expecting him to be a 2nd or 3rd rounder, which I guess is fair. He, it's undeniable UCF does not play as tough competition as, your LSUs, your SEC, your Power 5 teams. That doesn't mean that we're not as good as some of those teams, but we're overlooked, if you will. Mm-hmm. But he could absolutely be a starter and a huge contributor for whoever picks him up.
Okay. All right. Anybody else that you guys are looking forward to? There's of course on my end, Dolphins fans have the quarterback question mark coming into the draft here as to who to draft now. As pretty much everybody expects the Bengals to draft Joe Burrow and get that out of the way.
Actually, something funny I want to tell you. I don't remember where I saw it on Twitter. I don't remember who actually posted it on Twitter, but apparently there's a sports book that has the odds at Burrow going first at -100,000.
Wow.
So a $100,000 bet on him being drafted first would earn you $1.
Okay.
So I'm actually strongly considering. I've never bet in my life, but I would actually consider putting $1 down on that, in the hopes that, let's say, the Dolphins decide to trade up and pick him, no, if he's first overall.
The Bengals.
Listen, you throw 3 first rounders at me in a second, I'll trade away.
The Dolphins have the Dolphins have stockpiled a ton of draft picks.
Don't they have 5 in the first 2 rounds?
Yeah, so the Bengals will pretty much just ask for those 5. So
right.
that's probably what would happen. Although, and so a lot of people are saying, all right, Chris Greer, this is your this is your one and only chance to do this, because if you fail on this pick, you're not going to be returned to the Dolphins. That's for sure.
Right.
But I guess most Dolphins fans are saying draft Tua. Everybody knows the concerns for his injury history. We all know that. But people are looking back at what the huge mistake the Dolphins made when they had the choice between Drew Brees and Dante Culpepper, and they thought, oh, Drew Brees has a terrible injury history early on in his career, thus we're going to go with Culpepper. Lo and behold, it was the other way around, and of course, Drew Brees is going to be a Hall of Famer. So people are saying the Dolphins don't make the same mistake. Draft Tua, see how it goes. I'm on that boat too. I'm at I think I forgot who said it, but it's like the Dolphins are choosing either to be to avoid greatness because there's a chance of injury by choosing perpetual mediocrity if they go with Herbert. That's the other choice the Dolphins could make, because and for me it's go for it. If they mess up, look, it's just another few years they can just draft again. Heck, the Arizona Cardinals drafted 2 quarterbacks twice in a row, so it's not like it hasn't been done or it can't be done again. So I would still I just keep hitting the quarterback button until I get the right one. That's what I would do for the Dolphins. We've been waiting forever since Dan Marino retired. It's just go for it. Go for it. If he gets injured and it is what it is with him, then fine. We'll try again 2 years from now if that's the case. But that's kind of the huge question mark there. Of course, there's people that are thinking, well, what if a team like, I think, what was it? The Detroit Lions, right? They pick ahead of the Dolphins, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So they're number 3. So how it goes? It's Cincinnati. It's Washington. And there's some rumors
New York
about them
Giants
wanting a quarterback.
Yeah.
No, it's Detroit, then New York.
Then New York,
it's
right.
The Dolphins.
Yeah, New York doesn't need a quarterback. So people are thinking, well, the Detroit Lions could make that pick. Then it's like, okay, should the Dolphins try and trade up just to try and get him? And a lot of people are saying do it because you don't want to risk the chance that you lose Tua. But then I'm looking back and I'm like, man, the Dolphins have all of these draft picks. And I'm thinking,
and mind you trade away players to get that.
Right.
You trade away the Minka Fitzpatricks, the Kenyon Drakes, all these other guys.
So
Laramie Tunzels.
I'm thinking if we don't even get Tua, we can still draft other guys and start building the core. And I don't know if this is a good comparison or not, but I'm thinking like back with the Herschel Walker trade where Minnesota traded their boatload of draft picks to the Cowboys for Herschel Walker. Lo and behold, those are all the great Cowboys from the 90s that got them their Super Bowls. So I'm thinking, well, what if this is the Dolphins' moment to do this, to use all those draft picks to build the core, for whether it's, even if it's not the flashy quarterback position this year, well, you can do it next year. I don't think the Dolphins are going to be any good next year anyways. I don't think they'll be that much improved. If they're even worse, it might even be a good thing, and they can just get whatever Lawrence from Clemson or something. You never know. So at this point, I say, even if we don't get to it, let's say the Detroit Lions do it. All right, then let's get the next best thing with all of those draft picks that we have, and we'll try again next year, because it is what it is right
not
now.
even going to be starting.
Yeah, exactly.
Not even going to be starting
Yeah,
next year.
I don't mind another. I don't mind Fitzmagic for another season. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, the idea is that you'll have. This is how you want it to happen. You draft whoever. So let's say it's Tua, just for all intents and purposes. What you have to pray for is that you keep Fitzpatrick entrenched as a starter regardless, because it's his final year. on the contract, so there's nothing for Tua to gain by sitting in the middle of the season or at the end of the season. Just learn, because you're not going to fire Flores, right? What you have to hope for is that Tua looks so good that he could beat out Josh Rosen, because all the people will tell themselves, oh, it's not so much that Josh Rosen is that bad to lose out to the rookie, is that our first round draft pick beat out the number 10 pick in the draft of XYZ. It's that little peppering. It's like that special ingredient, special sauce to help that confidence booster of that team, because you still have safeties to draft. You still have linemen to draft. Another receiver is definitely going to help you. Why? Because it was Preston Parker as your best receiver. Because here's the thing about Devontae Parker. I know I said earlier, or Preston Williams. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know I said earlier
I was
about
going to say Preston Wilson,
Dude's
but that's
history.
a different person that played for Miami.
Yeah. I'm not going to consider. I think Preston Parker was a receiver for the Giants a couple years back, but that's a different story. So I'm not going to. I know earlier in the show I said, hey, I'm not going to indict guys who have been injury prone throughout the years because it's a different date. Now that's different with Devontae Parker, who is always conventionally injured, except for the year he got paid.
Oh, you're right.
So
Preston Parker did play for the Giants.
Getting paid. Look at that, Madden. You do teach me things. That's a player to forget. But here comes Devontae Parker. Like, it's going to happen. He's going to get a paper cut, be out 2 games. So you still might want to get another receiver, unless you're just shipping out second rounders to other teams who are just going to accept that as trade bait. Looking at you, Bill O'Brien. So it's interesting, because if you look, the last team I saw that had 3 first-round picks was the Minnesota Vikings about 8 years ago, where they picked up Xavier Rhodes. They picked up the defensive tackle. Was it Sharif Floyd? Yeah, whose knee went and was no longer surgically repaired or proper. And I think that was the year they also had Christian Ponder, but I don't quote me that for sure. Maybe it wasn't, but they had 3 first-round picks, and they had guys there for longevity, because you want to do it, because the whole idea is let's draft them in their rookie years and contract years of a new CBA, because we don't want to pay them after year 5 or 6 anyway. So you have to fill in the holes. Can you go wrong with Tua if he's healthy? I don't know. He didn't really play in a pro offense, whatever that means in college. Andrew can tell us. I think it's all smoke and mirrors, unless it's the triple option.
Well, I can
you
answer
go
that
wrong with
really
Justin
quick
Herbert?
if you want.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Tell me, because I always have that up for debate.
So, I guess in short, a pro offense is, well, a pro offense. It's no hurry up, no huddle. Run through the huddle. Nothing fancy. It's predominantly passing quarterback. What the Ravens are not a pro offense. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
We're talking like UCF, for example, under George O'Leary was a pro offense. Had a tight end lineup. Well, we have tight ends too in the current scheme of things, but it's your more traditional stuff. Nothing flashy. It's just good old fashioned football, if you will.
Blocking tight ends, at least, not guys who are going to try to get vertical on you.
Exactly.
In that sense.
So, and like no triple options or fakes or anything spectacular. It's just your meat and potatoes of football. So the reason why NFL teams like quarterbacks that are in pro style offenses is because they're a bit more accustomed to what they'll experience at the pro level. Although it seems like that's changing a little bit with what the Ravens are doing with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. All right. Because the last time you hear he comes from a pro offense early for me was when Jameis came out, right? Because that was the Jimbo Fisher lie that they told us, that Jameis was pro ready and he could do things, and he ends up leading the league in turnovers. Because that's also, if you think about the guy who probably ran the most pro offense ready in college ball out of those who were selected, I would imagine it's Jake Fromm in Georgia, right? Pass the ball, or like run the ball with DeAndre Swift, and then do play actions and short yardage on a safe bet, safe keeping. Whereas in Alabama, watching Tua play, they went unconventional to what they usually did, and then you have your Jalen Strongs who are just coming out in Oklahoma and just slinging it and running around. But that's what always kind of got me. So it's always kind of tough going for a quarterback. And for the Dolphins, I don't know what your offensive identity is anyway, because you fired Chad O'Shea.
Yeah.
I don't even know who the hell your offensive coordinator is now.
I mean, it's kind of hard to have an offensive identity right now for the Dolphins. That's why I feel like this draft and next year's draft, these next two drafts, are really important for them to grab their core, see what you got this year with the new guys that you get, start developing that identity for your offense, then get what you need next year, because you still have a bunch of draft picks for next year too, and then you start building that core to something greater. Even if we can't get Tua this year, we draft the quarterback next year. Even if we have to move up, we can use those draft picks to move up too. And it's like, you know what? We're going to go for Trevor Lawrence, and we're going to throw in this huge package of draft picks just to get him, because we're right there. I don't know, but that's how I see it. I feel like this like the Dolphins aren't going to be good now. They're not going to be good next year, but that third year, that fourth year, I could see it.
Okay.
If they do it right.
Let me ask you this, because this is different from college and from the pros, because I feel college, unless you're the big schools, there's a lot of patience there. How long is too long? How long is enough?
How long?
Especially when you get organizations that just get this lightning in a bottle. Look at my Titans. We have been just mediocre, 9-7, 9-7, 9-7, and then also an AFC Championship game. Right. And we didn't do anything crazy. We took Ryan Tannehill. We got Derrick Henry in the second round.
Well, I mean, the plan is not to be, and I don't know if that Titans will be flash in the pan. I don't know if that's going to be, or if you guys can replicate it or build upon that. But I don't. Well, the perfect example is the Jacksonville Jaguars, where everything completely falls apart after that. But I don't want to flash in the pan. I want to build up to something that can be consistently good. And so, if we have the right coach, which I still have confidence in Brian Flores, if the organization can find some stability in that sense in building their core, then I feel good about it. Because before, remember, the Dolphins threw a bunch of money at a bunch of huge free agents and stuff. I mean, there's been no shortage of the Dolphins trying to sign flashy picks or flashy drafts or free agents, or if Stephen Ross is willing to spend the money. We all know that, but they haven't had the patience to build up a core. They had too much patience with Ryan Tannehill. So that's where things lie for me. So I think I'm looking at this we can really say 5 years, because year one was this past year. So year two, I mean, it's all about these draft picks that we're making. Year three, the same thing. By year four, those draft picks have to be improving. By year five, maybe contention of some sort. With division or greater.
Then that brings us back to the problem that you currently had last year. You're talking about a 5-year process. These contracts are up. Are you going to even want to pay these guys now? And that's I mean, let's talk 5 years from now, and assuming all
and that's
things...
that's where we have to have a good front office, because if we have to have guys that can look, even if we have to let go of some guys or make some trades, whatever, guys that can evaluate talent. And that's also a huge problem with the Dolphins. That's a whole other thing. We don't even know if the guys that are running the show right now even know what the heck they're doing. So that's the other thing. But we're like past an hour now, so we can talk about the Dolphins being terrible later. So
we have an entire segment usually voided onto it anyway, folks.
Exactly. So we're going to our middle segment here. Players, no, we're from a non-sponsor. Sheesh, I was getting ahead of myself there. So people, places, things, concepts, what have you, that we've been enjoying over the past week while stuck indoors. And so I don't know who wants to go first this week. Boom, boom, boom. Well, let's see. Trying to think. Oh man, I had one too, and I just forgot it. I had it lined up too.
I can start it off for you.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
As it gives you times. So, guys, I miss regular food. I miss. I don't cook a lot, but I survive, right? And when I do get takeout, I'll just go and order a restaurant and kind of go from there. And I miss Spanish food like crazy. I miss being able to get a burrito, because apparently all the places that I would go to are closed out. I miss it. So I asked myself, who is there ready to be accessible to me to make me survive that isn't Publix? I went to Publix today. They're not my non-sponsor. I was very much hated because I came in like, I just want a pub sub and some water, guys. Leave it be. But I miss like regular food, and we've given them the shout out before. But here's the thing about sponsors and non-sponsors: if you're kind of always kind of giving me some love, I'm gonna give you some love too. You can always come back here. We'll recycle you, go from that. Because when I want some real food, and I'm sick of the fast food, even Taco Bell, and Taco Bell's the love sometimes. But when I'm even sick of Taco Bell, even though they have a new fire Doritos Locos taco, which your boys can get down on real fast, because I am the guinea pig, even though I have not done the KFC thing. But something tells me on certain kind of foods from KFC, I'm gonna get something worse than the CV. But it's Friday, it was Friday night, it was Friday night. I wanted a real meal, man. I wanted something with a main base and some sides. I wanted to be tasty, and I wanted something to enjoy. And we've talked about it before, but we'll talk about it again, especially since they were kind of desperate. I'm gonna give some love to Flanagan's because they were still available.
All right.
I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted my half rack rib chicken sticker combo with my stickers hot, with some blue cheese, some fries, and my ribs. I got that for me, I got that for the family, and it was just chef's kiss. Because this whole quarantine, I've been saving money by not going out to eat. And trust me, when your boy is ready, he's going to have himself a big-ass burrito from Rancho Chico or wherever I can get it from. But, I have to see what places are accessible to me, to moi, to myself. And I was like, all right, I don't cook a lot of ribs. I've never attempted to. And I'm afraid that if I did it, the government would invade my house to see how they can use my weapon of mass destruction. So I already know that I can't go from there. There's something about them curly fries that I like, because I'm a curly fry kind of guy, and their curly fries aren't like Arby's. No offense to Arby's, I've given you love in the past, but they're not crunchy hard. They're nice and soft. I could dip it in my blue cheese. But what really kicked it for me, you guys? It was the hot sauce on the zingers, or not the zingers, I'm thinking of Ale House. The hot sauce on the chicken stickers that really was just rich and crispy and tasty. And all went well with me rewatching Daredevil Season 3 for the second time. It was just a perfect storm of perfect meals that wasn't just me eating leftovers for the umpteenth time in a row of chicken milanesas, or any kind of burnt steak by Charles, or just having a yogurt with his protein shake. So Flanagan's, for being desperate enough to open.
Okay, so my internet's going down a little bit right now, so give us a second, because Charles, you've been completely silent for a bit.
Oh no.
Yeah, my I don't know, it went down a little bit, so you completely blacked out there for like the last 10 seconds of that.
Well, it's fine. It probably wasn't PG-13 for my love of Flanagan's as this, but folks, if you want to get yourself a meal or a delicacy of takeout, that you can just pick it up for a decent price that will feed you for 2 days, because that's how I do things when I go get takeout. I don't want to eat in one sitting because I'll hate myself later, not because I ate too much, but because I don't have nothing for the next day. You get a little bit of ribs, you get a little bit of stickers, you get some fries, and then that's lunch tomorrow. Get yourself some Flanagan's. Help support, I guess, the small businesses that dealing with the food, restaurants, whatever. Just go get good food.
Yeah.
You can only eat Taco Bell so much. Trust me, I know this.
Yeah.
Promo code Tasty. I think that was my last one, and I'm always gonna say that when I mention them. So Tasty. Get yourself some Flanagan's, buddies.
I thought you go over like Big Daddy, because that's the
Big Daddy. That's their liquor store,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
I'll go next. I know that you had just mentioned them, Charles, and I know that we have covered them before, obviously, but my non-sponsor of the week is Arby's.
Ooh, that's a good one.
We kind of made it like a point almost to We never usually go out that much, or we not recently, but to kind of retain some normalcy, we've said, all right, we'll go out, like not go out, but order out once a week to get food or whatever. Last week was Panda Express, which was okay. They're usually better, but they've been going down in quality recently. No offense, Panda Express. But this week, I was like, I haven't had Arby's in a while. And their motto, and despite all the joking from Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert and John Oliver saying that Arby's is not that good, I like Arby's. They have the meats.
Yeah.
And their curly fries, very good as well. Although I do have to agree with Charles that Flanagan's has absolutely incredible curly fries. I love those. So I was like, you know what? Let's go get some Arby's. We went out. There's one pretty close to us, which I was kind of surprised by. The only one I knew was up in North Miami, but there's one relatively close in Calle Ocho. So we took a little bit of a drive over there, which was nice, getting out of the house. And actually it was cool because we drove right by it because they don't have adequate signage. But it was nice. We got to just drive and, drive for no reason in a sense, getting out of the house was quite nice. So I went back, I got myself the smokehouse brisket sandwich.
I've had that. It's so good.
It is really good. So I went ahead and got that. Got myself some potato wedges as well. Skipped the curly fries because they are incredibly loaded with calories. And I'm still trying to be good and lose weight. I'm down actually 35 pounds in the past few months. So
Whoop whoop.
So I'm trying to maintain that.
Nice.
So yeah, Arby's. That really hit the spot, and it's kind of like become a Sunday thing for us. We're good for most of the week, and then just one night a week, we're gonna go out and get something out that's fun and exciting to kind of change things up. Different place each week. I'm doing a project right now for work where I'm doing some research on mental health as it relates to the whole thing. I'm going to avoid saying anything that could get us demonetized.
No, wait. Forget YouTube. They don't care about us.
So, and one of the big thing, something I stumble across is, going out, doing fun things, doing hobbies, things like that. I'm not necessarily saying that eating out is a hobby, but, I kind of take it to mean, doing fun stuff. And a fun thing is to, get out of the house and kind of break up the food monotony a little bit. So yeah, my non-sponsor of the week is Arby's, and thanks to them, they're doing an incredible essential service. And my real MVPs, I'll get to them later.
Yeah.
As I always do. But yeah, Arby's, that really perked up my week, and is getting me through to next Sunday, or this coming Sunday, where I'll be able to order something new. Who knows? It might be Jersey Mike's this coming week.
Okay. You have a promo code?
Promo code, they have the meats.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of funny how, like, just going out to a fast food restaurant is suddenly like a fantastic occasion for us now. It's like, hey, let's tunnel down to McDonald's and treat ourselves.
Well, I've been thinking about it, and a lot of things undeniably are going to change in everyone's lives as a result of this. I mean, we're still in the middle of it, but I know that things are never going to be the same. And I think one of the big things, and a silver lining, if you will, is people are going to become a lot more appreciative of what they have in life. You know that old saying, you don't appreciate what you have till it's gone.
Right.
Before we could just you know what, I'm going to head over and get a son of Baconator over at Wendy's, or I'm going to pick up some curly fries from Flanagan's, or I'm going to go out and practice some football over at a park in Tampa. But you don't we can't now. Unless you're a crazy person, but I won't delve too much into politics here.
All right.
But we don't have what we usually have anymore. So we used to take that somewhat for granted, and now we're not. And hopefully, come the future, once this is all said and done, people won't take stuff like that for granted. They'll be more appreciative of the essential workers, the first responders, fast food restaurants, and savor life a little bit more.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so let me do mine. It's not going to be food based, so yeah. And we need one of them to not be food based at least. So I'm actually going to chalk it up to something that I've been messing around with the last few days anyways. It's I'm going to give it to Adobe.
Ooh.
All right. So Adobe who makes your Adobe Reader programs on your on all of your computers and stuff, so you can read your PDFs. Always install your Adobe Readers and update it. But they also make a fantastic thing that, well, I guess I would call it, well, they call it the Creative Suite, which is a suite of applications that allow you to see all the things that you see all over the place, from your billboards to your movies to, just everything out there in the world. They are the leader in this. And so I have to give it to Adobe because I've been kind of going, that's what I was doing yesterday on my garbage day. It was just sitting there on Photoshop and messing with the Marlins logo for a bit and kind of making things my own. So I did that. And it's Adobe's Creative Suite that has brought to you all of this graphics that are on the screen right now. It's the whole reason I can do all of this, really, and make all of these fantastic signs. Have that Marlins versus Mets announcement, by the way, this Thursday. The Miami Marlins versus New York Mets in a very old baseball game. I will be broadcasting that. I won't do it on Friday or Saturday or Sunday because we cannot compete with the NFL draft. So I'll hold off on that. But Thursday, I'll be doing that. So if people want to join me. It's basically just one long Players Remember to Forget segment. Honestly. That's basically it. All I do is just sit there and be like, oh, this guy existed. That's all right. I'll look up his life and see if it was worthy of existing. And most people who do, once again, you make it to Major League Baseball, you make it to the show. That's an accomplishment in and of itself that many of us wish we could do. So even if it was for a second. So anyways, remember, Field of Dreams. Look what happened. Anyways, Adobe, man. I've been using it since I was a teenager, since I was in middle school. I've been using their line of products. Got my graphic design degree, learned all their stuff too, Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, InDesign, and all that stuff. They used to call it After Effects, and stuff, all that stuff. And really, they've been the reason I've been able to do all this. The reason I got into freaking hockey, and the reason I got press passes, things like that, it's because of them that I've been able to do this type of stuff. So in my life, and so I guess I've never given them a shout out, and I think they probably deserve it at this point.
I miss Adobe Creative Suite. I used to use it when I was in journalism school because we had magazine editing and photo editing.
Yeah.
But that was all on school computers, and I never got the opportunity, nor could I afford it really, because it is fucking expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive. There are, and well, there are ways to get it. Anyways, the same way I get my old GameCube games. So there are ways to get it, but
because right now I do use some graphic design. I use a program called GIMP.
right.
But no kink shaming here.
Yeah, but there's a stark contrast in quality. That's for sure.
Absolutely, not a doubt.
The people that do make this work really hard on it to make it intuitive and just. I mean, it is the standard. All right, it is the standard for anybody.
No, not a doubt.
For anybody that wants to do any form of, I don't know, just branding, marketing, anything that you want to just show off. I mean, you use this. If you want to make it yourself, you use this. And I've done it. I've done it for myself. I've done it for my career in law, really. I've done it for everything that I've done. It's been incredibly valuable now that I'm thinking about it. So thank you, Adobe, for what you've done. And promo code Command Z or Control Z, which is the undo button, which is incredibly valuable. All right.
Indeed.
So that's it. That's my non-sponsors. I mean, those are our non-sponsors: Arby's, Flanagan's, and Adobe. All right. So let me get to some of the smaller stuff that I have prepared for this. So let's go first to better know a minor league team. Hopefully Google will pop up here and I can search for it and put it on the screen here. And if it'll cooperate with me, we don't know. We have no idea. But minor league team that I have today for us is the Mississippi Braves. They are a minor league baseball team established in 2005, although the franchise itself is older than that, but they've been in Mississippi since 2005. They used to be the Greenville Braves in South Carolina, then before that the Savannah Braves in Georgia, the Shreveport Braves in Louisiana, and at the beginning the Austin Braves in Texas. They are part of the Southern League. They are the Braves AA affiliate. They've only been the Braves affiliates. The Braves own the team. That's the Braves moniker on all of their teams. They've won no notable championships here. John Smoltz played for the Mississippi Braves on a rehab stint in his career. So those people in Pearl, Mississippi, got a chance to see a Hall of Famer. And yeah, they play in Pearl, Mississippi. They play at Trustmark Park, which also opened in 2005. Seats 8,480.
I was gonna say
an 80,000 seat minor league park. Wow, no, 8,480 seat stadium that has a full service restaurant that is open year round for lunch. So if you're in Pearl, Mississippi, you might want to give them a call and have some no touch delivery or some carry out right now. Anyway, so that's the Mississippi Braves. So that's one. Got that out of the way. I got a Let's Haul, y'all. Ready for you guys as well. My Hall of Famer for today is Mike Mussina.
Ooh.
Hey.
Yeah, I thought I'd get that name out there.
The Orioles legend.
Well, technically, he went into the Hall of Fame with no team on his hat. He went blank.
Yeah, I can see that.
So he himself decided that he couldn't choose between Baltimore and the New York Yankees, so he's like, neither. So
I was just saying it more to tick off our resident Yankees fan here.
Well,
You see, Moose is a weird feel, though. I gotta say, because I don't even know if he really should have gotten Hall of Fame as opposed to Hall of Pretty Good. So
well,
it's his
I
choice. I don't
mean,
take insult.
I think sabermetrics would say that he did deserve to get in. So, and
Yeah.
so I think he's probably one of those first guys where you look back on it and it's like, yeah, he was that good. I mean, I think he has like an 83 wins above replacement. He was that good. This is his Hall of Fame entry here on the Hall of Fame website. Finished with a career 270 wins in 18 years. Logged 17 seasons of 10 plus wins. Played for both the Baltimore Orioles and the New York Yankees. So initially with the Baltimore Orioles, he was drafted twice by the Baltimore Orioles. He was drafted out of high school initially. He's from Pennsylvania. And then he was drafted again the second time in 1990 when he was playing at Stanford. So I guess you would say he's a smart dude. Got a degree in economics, so he did graduate. 5-time All-Star, 92, 93, 94, 97, and 1999. 7-time Gold Glove winner, including his final year in 2008. Led Major League Baseball in wins in 1995, part of the Baltimore Orioles Hall of Fame. He never won the World Series with the Yankees, though. So
I think he only had one 20-win season, too. And that was in his second to last year or final year, I believe.
He had a fantastic final year that kind of calls into question, like, man, if he had stayed that one last year in 2009, maybe he would have gotten a ring with that 09 Yankees team. But of course, maybe things would have been different, butterfly effect, what have you. But it's he played 8 seasons with the Yankees. And yes, let's see, he was 39 years old. His final stat line in 2008, 20-9 with 3.37 ERA. Oldest first-time 20-game winner in big league history. So, and there's his Hall of Fame plaque on the screen there. Blank. Moose was his nickname. 91-2000 with the Orioles. 01 through 08 with the Yankees in that basically that entire 2001 through 2008 period where guys would sign on with the Yankees would just nab all these free agents and stuff, Jason Giambi, Randy Johnson, Mike Mussina, and led to 0 championships.
Yeah.
Or
the Cleveland Browns of that era. It's okay.
04 LA Lakers, basically. Stretched out over 7 years. So that's Mike Mussina, everybody. And so let's see. Do I have player we remember to forget? Because we are going to this is I guess a football centric episode with the draft coming up. So I went with a football centric choice here. I don't know if you guys have heard of this guy. I just found him on Pro Football Reference and clicked the first random picture that I saw. I'm like, I don't remember this guy's face. And so and spelling this out is going to be really hard. I might butcher this name too. Oh my gosh. Okay. And
Gabaggio Ventimiglia. It has to be.
What?
Gabaggio, I can never say his name, but he was a player in the for the Green Bay Packers in
No,
the mid-90s.
Nope, not him. I think this is it. Shimanga Biaka Butuka.
What the hell?
Or Tim. Or yeah.
I felt like you just summoned a demon in South Miami, Francisco. You
Little
might
Santeria.
want to check on
There's some dead roosters around me right now.
Oh my god.
Anyways, Shimanga Tim. His nickname is Tim. Biakabutuka. There we go. That's the name.
What the hell? Biakabutuku.
All right. So he played
Chimanga.
He played in the NFL. He was a running back. He played at Michigan. That's where he was drafted. He was drafted in the first round, 8th overall in the '96 draft. Played for the Carolina Panthers for his entire career from 1996 through 2001. So he was basically with with them in their expansion era. He is the first Zairian NFL player. So he's from Africa, from Zaire. That's where he was born. He was 6 feet tall, 215 pounds.
That's a tall running back.
Yeah, 2,530 career rushing yards, averaged 4.1 yards per carry, and had 14 rushing touchdowns over his career. He was injured a lot. He was the first NFL player to score 2 touchdowns of 60-plus yards in the same game.
Huh.
So I
Interesting.
think he did that in his rookie year in '96. He grew up in Canada. So that's where they plucked him from. His cousins all played football. Some played in college football. I think one of them ended up in the NFL. I think played for the Packers. And another one and the others played for the CFL. And he currently has a nephew that is projected to be a prospect in the 2020 NHL draft. Once again, from Canada. Yeah, so that's our guy.
I can say I never heard of him.
Yeah, so yeah, I went deep on this one.
Yeah.
I went deep on this one. I'm pretty darn sure nobody. Oh, let's see. Currently resides in Matthews, North Carolina, and owns 4 Bojangles in the Augusta, Georgia region.
Smart man.
So there you go. So if you're in Augusta, Georgia, hit up DoorDash. One of those 4 Bojangles out there is Tim Biakabutuka's restaurants and help the guy out. All right. So there you go. So he grew up in Montreal. So I would assume he's a Canadiens fan. All right. So that's our player to remember, forget. Do I have another one here? Gosh. Minor league team, blah blah, Hall of Famer. Man, I got through pretty much all of them. All right. Topic. Los Angeles Chargers did something right. Andrew, what did they do right?
New unis.
Exactly.
I do have a slight problem with them.
Really?
I do.
All right, I'll try and bring them up on the TV screen here, but go ahead.
It's a minor problem,
Mm-hmm.
but I do not like how cluttered the helmet is with the bolt and the numbers.
Okay.
It's a little bit too cluttered. It's either go with the numbers or go with the bolt.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I say go with the bolt because I think that looks nicer. And it's much more unique. But I think it's a little bit too noisy having both on there.
All right. Okay. So for some reason I can't get it on the freaking TV screen here. Hold on, let me see if I can work some magic here. Anyways, so yeah, the Los Angeles Chargers, not the San Diego Chargers. They should be in San Diego, but that's a whole another discussion.
Fuck you, Spanos.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. They're going to be renting the Rams stadium. Anyways, they've been playing in a soccer stadium the last few years. They're going to move into this brand new stadium with the Rams in LA.
SoFi Stadium.
So get your student loans in check. But as much as they could have botched this, they didn't. They did not botch this at all. They rebranded slightly, which is good. They rebranded slightly, and they took what was great about pretty much their entire history of uniforms and just went, let's just tweak a couple things, tweak our numbers, tweak our logos just a bit, and put on those fantastic powder blue colors that everybody loves, and it worked. It freaking worked. So they've got several different uniforms. They've got the white one, they got the powder blue one, they've got 3 different shades of blue with this set. And I mean, I don't know how I feel about three different shades of blue. I mean, the St. Louis Blues kind of have the same thing too. That's probably the other team that I could say that has the same color scheme as them with the blue and yellow, because the St. Louis Blues have that powder blue uniform, which is fantastic, and I think they should go back to that now that they've won the cup. But they've also got their navy blue set, and they've got this other, like, deep, or not, a little slightly darker than royal blue that looks good too. Their color rush uniforms are this kind of a little off royal blue, and they've got the navy uniform, which they wore in the 90s famously, Junior Seau days, and the dark uniform looks good to me too. I mean, I can't find much fault with the set at all. It just works.
The one thing that I would say is I hope that they mix the blues, the darker blues, with some of the other pants.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the whole NFL color rush thing, where there's just like one monochromatic, but at least one whole set. I think I'm like you. I like the contrast of, all right, the jersey and then different colored pants to kind of give you a bit of contrast. Maybe the socks will be the same as the jersey color, but even then, it's not as awful as other teams.
No, not at all.
Just because the blues that they have are appealing to look at, especially when they're paired with that fantastic yellow color that they have.
No, not a doubt. They are amazing uniforms, and I mean, I'm not one to buy other teams' jerseys. I'm not one to buy jerseys, period. But those are jerseys that I would be proud to wear as a player,
right,
or as a fan. I mean, those are just gorgeous. But I think if you were to add the white pants to either the dark navy or the royal blue, those would look beautiful as well. Yeah, so, gosh, this thing is finally cooperating with me with Google, and I can actually show this on the screen. But the LA Chargers, gosh, as much as we want to say that they shouldn't be there, but I don't think the team has ever had a bad uniform. Even their navy uniforms, when when everybody was changing to a darker color scheme in the 90s, still look good because they didn't really change the rest of the uniform. They just kind of changed the shade of blue. So it's a win for me, man, especially in this offseason that the NFL has had. The Buccaneers are a win. I'll chalk them up as a win because anything different than what they had would have been a win anyways. Yes, we wish for the creamsicles, but those will probably come in due time. Actually, I'm 100% on board with the Bucs did.
Yeah.
I'd say the only team that did it better was the Chargers. If they get rid of the numbers on the helmet.
The Chargers, because of how hated their move from San Diego was, and because they have a very small fan base in Los Angeles anyways, they really could not mess up this quote unquote rebrand that they've just done. They really could not mess this up. Nike and the NFL and the Chargers had to sit down at a table, and I guess basically the Chargers had to go, Nike, don't Nike this up, all right? Don't go crazy with all these elements that you do with the Oregon Ducks or what you did to the Buccaneers but prior to this. Don't start doing all these wacky new things that you think are going to be awesome, and then 5 years from now are going to be like, yeah, let's just go back to what we did before Nike came in.
True, but at the same time, they may not have necessarily Nike'd it up. They could have gone conservative, but these are just gorgeous uniforms, period.
Yeah.
This is beyond just screwing it up. They made a very vast improvement.
It's amazing how much the lightning bolt on the pants. It is fantastic, man. Steve Eiserman, look at what happens when you have lightning bolts on the pants, right? I mean, it just makes things look good when your nickname, and because both the Chargers and the Lightning have nickname bolts. When it's that, have lightning bolts on the pants as your striping pattern. It just works.
It works. It's gorgeous.
So it is, man. It is like the all white is beautiful. It's such a beautiful thing. The numbers are great. It's not anything like crazy. It's like a kind of slightly italicized modern look. They didn't like make it all lightning bolts, which would have looked awful. The powder blue is great. It matches everything. It's really, the Los Angeles Rams have a lot to live up to right now because they have yet to reveal their new uniforms. So
Yeah,
and I don't know. I
it's
mean,
gonna be tough to top that.
I would well, have they announced that they'll debut it in the draft? Because I would think that they would want their first round draft pick to show off the New Jersey. That's what most teams do, but and that's probably what the Rams or the Chargers just did now. Unveil it now. That way you can see it in person when they mail it to their first draft pick. I don't even know how that's gonna work. The guy gets picked, and then there's like an Uber guy knocking on the door with a mask and gloves, and here's your jersey. I don't know.
Well, what's going to happen is New Era, which is the official hat
Provider,
person.
right?
What they're doing is they shipped all of, I think, 57 players. They shipped 32 hats to each of them.
Okay, and I guess they can donate the rest. Or what if they get traded and it's just like, okay, I guess I'll wear this one now. That's gonna be fun. That's gonna be funny too. All right. Yeah, this is a fantastic set. That navy blue one, I don't know why, but that one really stands out to me. That it just works with the set too. So I like all the options that they have with it. Like that, yeah, the blue with the blue. I could see them wearing white with that, or the gold pants too. It's not like they can't do that. But as far as the number on the helmet is concerned, I mean, what is it? Because it's too much like Alabama, so it's like, you instantly hate it, or what?
No, it's. I don't know. It's just there's so much going on.
One thing
I guess.
Yeah, sorry.
I mean, I guess it'll grow on me in times, but.
I mean, it's an old school look. It's a throwback. So
it is, but you don't really see, like, if you look at Alabama, it's just the number.
Right. Okay.
You don't really see a logo and the number.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's unique. That's for sure.
That is definitely unique.
I mean, the Chargers need all the uniqueness they can get in Los Angeles right now if they're going to get fans. So, all right. Another thing I've noticed is there are no numbers on the shoulders.
Yeah, apparently a lot of teams are starting to move away from the TV numbers because it's not as necessary.
Right. Yeah, at this point, you don't need it. Especially when you have it on the helmet, too. It's even more redundant if you're going to have it on the shoulders. It allows...
But like the new Patriots uniform, they don't have it.
Right.
It was more necessary back in the pre-HD days when, if you didn't get a good look at the front or the back of the uniform, you would need to see what's on their shoulders.
Right.
But you don't really need that anymore.
That's true. It also allows them to have better graphics on the shoulders, which allows for nice shoulder logos. Of course, you can't lose those bolts on the shoulders either. Those are iconic. And also at this point, like, you have smart jerseys now too. So I mean, we saw an example of that in the NHL where they have the tracking chip, and you can track the players on their jerseys now. It's
Right.
You don't need it anymore. It's true. All right, so big win. Congratulations, LA Chargers. You finally did something right after all these years in Los Angeles. So there you go. All right. So we're getting down to the wire here. Is there any other topics before we head off to the cage?
I got one to lead into it, just out of interest to you guys. So on ESPN, because we all need something in our life sports related to watch, and I'm not going to watch it just because I feel like there's enough grandstanding of Michael Jordan, but there has been The Last Dance, or whatever it's titled, his ESPN show. The people that I know that have watched it have loved it. So let me poo-poo on Jordan, then it's going to lead into the question I want to ask you guys that's sports related. One, I don't care. We know Jordan is great. We knew there was always conflict. There's always going to be conflict there because who was it? Gus Foreman, right, was their GM at that time. He was always saying it's going to blow up. He recently, I believe, got relieved from Chicago in the slew of all the rehirings, but the Bulls were sick of paying everybody. They were sick of the egos. Phil Jackson was kind of done. And look, the end of the Bulls dynasty was probably the best thing that happened to basketball because it created the newer dynasty with the Lakers because Phil went over there, Kobe, Shaq, what have you, and then it led the precedent to other teams being competitive. So if we would just want to grandstand on that final, first off, 10 episodes is too long. You could do 10 episodes on the Dynasty Bulls, and I'd probably be more invested into it. I'm really just waiting for Phil Jackson because he's so zen. That's why he's a Zen master, but he's so zen, but he's also so polite because he outright won't say someone sucked. So I'm waiting for him in his most candid interview post Kobe. I think this was interviewed before Kobe, so he's still there, but just kind of be enraged to be like I hated Michael Jordan. He was a spoiled brat. I just want to hear it just because you want a different dynamic because I think everybody got slapped in the face when Jordan retired, quotation marks, finger quotations, because there was, I want to go pursue my passions for baseball because that's what my father wanted to do. And then the other contention was basically, oh, wait, we caught you gambling and we think that you were gambling on the Bulls, but we're not going to Pete Rose you, but we're going to mandatory send out.
Yeah.
I want investigative journalism on is Michael Jordan really a bad human being versus listen, he made Space Jam, so it doesn't really matter to me. He could have shot a guy, but he was with bugs. They fought the Monstars. I don't think we need a grandstanding of The Last Dance because it was pretty simple. Everybody was sick of each other, not of the game, because Mike went back to Washington and couldn't do it in Washington and died a very bad death, the way Tom Brady's going to have. You see how it all comes together? Tom Brady's going to have in Tampa. The question I wanted to ask you guys is that if we're going to put our resources into making these documentaries about great dynasty teams and what led to the course of their build-up, their fall, and their winnings in between, in any sport really, what team intrigues you? And it doesn't have to be a full-out dynasty. Like a dynasty itself is what the easy target is, because we've seen the certain things. Like I've seen the 30 for 30 when they send out Gretzky from what was it, Edmonton or whatever. Please forgive me. I know I'm saying sacrilegious stuff. And then they send him out to LA or whatever.
That's right. You got it right.
Yes, I know things. Remember, to learn a goof we haven't had in a while, but I retain. This is what we're here for, educational purposes. But it's always interesting to me because sometimes, I'll give you an example just to start off. The Kansas City Royals, for me, that 2-year period when they went to the World Series, and we know the understandings was that they were cheap and they had to strike now because they had everybody in the farm system. But if you thought about it, if they kept the club together and let's say there was a fixed amount of money, what they could have been, or because I don't need to be on the Yankees. We know what that's all about. Baseball's a very weird sport because it is heavily dominated. I don't think anybody wants to see the same highlights. Or maybe we want to see Tito's last stand over in Boston where Terry Francona was unceremoniously destroyed by all the people who loved him because he let chicken and beer despite the fact that he led you to two World Series championships. I would actually want to watch that in a 10 series document of the Last Dance kind of persona of a big name character and a vision of an organization.
I'd love to see a Last Dance thing of the 2017 through 2019 Astros.
Oof.
Yeah, that we'll get that 10 years from now, probably after all of those guys are retired or in the twilight of their careers or something like that, or at least the guys that played with them who are willing to talk. I'm not even sure. Who knows? Yeah, man. Well, let's see which team. Which team would I want to know about? I mean, they've already done the Showtime Lakers 30 for 30.
I'd also like to see something on the 97 and '03 Marlins.
Well,
The
I
or
mean,
just the Marlins in general. The whole
there was. I mean, SB Nation did a collapse video about the Marlins collapse from '97, and then the rise a little bit in 2003. But it's of course wouldn't be as in depth. But I would say probably I can kind of go with you on that, Andrew. The '97 Marlins from when they won until through the entire '98 year. Because that off season and the '98 year where just basically the entire team is lopped off, one by one, trade after trade, and I've gone back because I've been looking at old All-Star games. The '98 All-Star game, the 1998 All-Star game, the National League team. That team is enough to make a Marlins fan cry. Because it is just one guy after another from that '97 Marlins team, and probably all of them in one. Like they wouldn't have all made it on the All Star team if they were on the Marlins that year, but individually, each one of them was good enough to represent their teams. Gary Sheffield was there. I think Charles Johnson was there. Rob Nen was their closer. He was in San Francisco then. Moises Alou, Kevin Brown, just guy after guy. One after another.
Here's something crazy. If I were to put together a Marlins alumni team, I could seriously make an argument that they would be one of the best alumni teams of all time.
So somebody's doing this right now on, I don't know if it's Over the Top Baseball or like MLB or whatever, but a simulation of all-time teams versus all-time teams. Of course, the Yankees are going to have a superstar team.
Right.
But they pitted the all-time Braves versus the all-time Marlins, and the all-time Marlins beat the all-time Braves. And I'm like, oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, of course.
That's perfect for the Braves, because the Braves all-time choke when it matters most. So that actually makes a lot of sense, and the Marlins don't when it matters most, at least when it twice mattered most. Anyways.
I'm honestly not surprised by that, because if you look at who the Marlins have had, you've got Gary Sheffield. I mean, I guess technically Mike Piazza for 1 week.
I'm trying not to like just make this a whole Marlins thing because I can go off. But
we'll save that for next week because I think we've got 9-ish minutes left, and I'd like to get to the cage.
I'll say the one thing that I want to know, if I wanted a last dance, is I want the 1994 baseball season. The entire 94 season. I could watch 10 episodes on that because that 94 season had so much potential. You had Ken Griffey Jr., Frank Thomas, and Matt Williams all on pace to pass 61. You had Tony Gwynn on pace to have a 400 season, which hasn't been done since Ted Williams. You had the Montreal Expos, who had the best team in baseball, and it might have been the season that would have saved them in Montreal. Right. You had the New York Yankees, who had the best record in the American League, and that might have been the early start of the Yankees dynasty as well, or at least the 1 year Don Mattingly would have had a chance at a championship. So there were so many narratives going on there that I want to know in depth from everybody that's still alive, from the Players Association, all those guys that are pretty much, a lot of guys are Hall of Famers now that were playing at the time. Tony Gwynn is dead now, so we can't get him, but just everybody that can still, Bud Selig is still alive, so everybody that you can get to expand upon that. So that would be me. That would be it for me. So that's it. All right. Okay, so let's move on here to the cage, Charles. Let's go. We'll talk about Rob Gronkowski.
All right, welcome everybody to your weekly Truplex A Cage with Charles. Full disclaimer as always, wrestling is not fake. It is scripted. It is a dance. It is a ballet. It is poetry in the motion. It is about fighting for respect, fighting for a briefcase that might get you a guaranteed contract, baby, because it is Money in the Bank season. We're going to start this off with the WWE because we're going to veer into a couple other concepts with AEW because I know Francisco's going to chime in on that one. But let's talk about WWE and Money in the Bank. What the hell? That's how I'm starting this. Aside from Black Wednesday, which we're going to follow up with in a second, what the hell? Do you guys remember Money in the Bank last year? 6 competitors or 5 competitors, 10 competitors, whatever competitors go up. They have ladders. They try to get a briefcase, and on top of the briefcase, is a guaranteed contract, right? Simple stuff. This year, because of the CV, there's no crowd, and for a match that's purely gimmicks and reliant on spots, you want a crowd. Instead, Vince McMahon and his looniness, because wrestling's been kind of leaving me a little bit. It's slow seasons. I was like, all right, I'm not going to really watch too much Raw, NXT, SmackDown, not especially after Black Wednesday, because I believe in principles in life, unlike certain multi-billionaires owning wrestling companies. But then Vince is like, hey, Charles, remember your moral authority? I'm like, yeah. Remember that thing that you didn't want to compromise, which was your soul? Yeah. What if I gave you the Money in the Bank match? All right, you're already giving me that. What's up with that? He's like, what if I gave you the Money in the Bank match at the WWE headquarters? So? And he says, what if it starts on the first floor? I go, all right, so we're going to have elevator fights like The Office? And he goes, and what if they have to go through 3 floors? I'm like, okay. And what if some of the competitors, because not everybody's announced, so I won't belabor the point because we still got 2 weeks. But what if for the men's at least, because the women's is to be determined. I got to figure out a sneaky favorite there. I'll give you predictions when predictions come. He says, what if 2 of the competitors are Daniel Bryan? I'm like, all right, who you love. I know. I think he should always be on my TV wrestling, putting on clinics, and Aleister Black. And I'm like, girl, you tell me that there's going to be a segment where there's going to be an elevator fight and everybody's going to be knocked the hell out and these 2 are going to lock eyes or pop. And I'm like, yeah, but he's like, what if I also told you that on top of the corporate headquarters is going to be a ring and ladders and a briefcase and these people are going to climb the corporate ladder basically to get the briefcase.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, was it that Tomodachi Life stage in Super Smash Brothers? Just going up and down.
And now I went from having a girl moment because then I realized those 2 are going to be facing off presumably in the actual ring as opposed to beating the hell out of each other in the elevator, because we'll get a little bit of it. But I think right now, because this is such a weird Money in the Bank with its participants, and it's not fully declared, that's why I won't talk about each participant yet. That'll be for a longer form of the cage. But knowing that I'm going to have, on one hand, possibly Aleister Black climbing the corporate ladder, and then Daniel Bryan climbing the corporate ladder, going against each other to lead to the briefcase, presumably if Aleister Black wins, is just what I need. I feel like I'm watching the Boondocks episode of WWE Money in the Bank. If you guys have seen the Boondocks and you've seen how they've kind of... Do you remember the dodgeball episode? When it's like Riley and Huey have to play dodgeball in their tournament, and it becomes like this big anime manga over-the-top thing with high ferocity, high velocity.
I mean, okay. I'm probably if I rewatch it, but yeah.
Well, that's what it feels like. A caricature beyond a caricature that we did not anticipate nor expect. And here we are. And I'm like, damn it, Vince, every time. Because I think I told you guys.
Hold on. I just want to comment on one thing. So I have in the background NFL 2K3, a simulation game of the Cleveland Browns versus the Baltimore Ravens. And the Browns have been leading the entire game. And they have just given up a touchdown with 5 minutes left that has put the Ravens ahead 18-17 at this moment. And I'm like, oh my God, this simulation simulates life to the T, because that is such a Browns thing to do. Anyways,
the 2K football series is one of the best. So now I just feel like it's so over the top, over the caricature, that my moral spirit is compromised, and that this company, who I was like, all right, I'm an adult, I'm 30 years old, you don't control me anymore, Vince, has suckered me in. Because I said it last show, typically after WrestleMania season, Vince bungles it. He F's it up. And how did he F it up on Wednesday? He fired everybody, like 16 people. Mind you, let's be honest. For me as an evaluator of wrestling, the talent release, aside from a few names such as Rusev, such as the OC, aside from those guys, there wasn't really a lot of people bringing to the table. They were just in back catering. And at any other point aside from a pandemic, it would have made sense. You don't need the Mike Kanellis's. Hell, you don't even really need the Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder's, even though I do like Zack Ryder for the entertainment he brings. There was some head scratchers, like they got rid of Sarah Logan, Deonna Purrazzo, and it's just more like that women's division on Raw and NXT is very thin. So you really shouldn't. I knew Rusev was coming. I'm surprised they didn't fire his wife in real life. Now, mind you, they're under a non-compete. They said there's still money involved, but it was kind of a shady thing to do, considering the fact in the same week, Vince files for bankruptcy for the XFL. And then it turns out that in the documentations, the WWE actually had some B shares, 23% of the company, so they're losing money. So the board of directors like, boy, if we could vote you or vote you out as whatever, we're going to do it. So then he's getting rid of all these people because it wasn't just 16 wrestlers. It's the backstage producers, it's the writers. They're furloughed, may come back. They say statistically they're going to save about $4 million a month, but then you find out that they have a net gross of $500 million that they could cover to pay out all the wrestlers and other talents. But it's a business, and I think it's just I'm trying to figure out what my line is in life, because it's kind of like Bud Selig covering up the steroid era, even though he knew about it, but there was some standpoints of David Stern knowing with some dirtiness that's going on here. You got to find a line of what annoys you. And if it annoys you, what can you do? And I was just very about it because there was also, Vince McMahon donated money to a certain campaign, about $18 million of their own personal finance. So it just didn't feel right. That was like the Black Wednesday of it. So I was like, I'm out, man. I'm out for a bit. It doesn't affect anything. This is life. Grow up, right? But I can at least say I will watch the competitor one time. And then they have Money in the Bank, and I'm like, damn it, you dirty rat, you master manipulator. You are the true, you are the true G. To touch on Gronk, I don't think it's going to affect the WWE that badly. He is the 24/7 champion with the finger quotations in the air, but I think it's going to drive a lot of casuals. There's going to be that cross brand, especially since he plays for an NFC team now. So guess what's going to be on Fox, who also airs SmackDown. I think it's going to be a great boon because he doesn't have to get in the ring. He just has to be a hype brand. And that's what Fox wants to do, because what do you think they're filling in for new content? The bump. They're putting in backstage. They're putting in old best ofs. They're putting in old WrestleManias to fill in that content, because even though it's stuff from years ago, it's a new audience. So it's like I have to have NFL channel to watch the old greatest life football stories or whatever. But here, if I just turn on FS1 or whatever, I can see new wrestling content without having to pay $10 a month. Because even if you're giving me a 30-day free trial, I don't know where to start, but I remember Edge, I remember Randy, I remember Jeff Hardy. Hell, they're still around, right? I remember Rey Mysterio, who's in the Money in the Bank qualifier. So we have that, and that's kind of what's going on in WWE. So more to be determined. I just hate Vince for compromising morals. Really, the only one that does sting is really it sucks for all the wrestlers, because if you think WWE, which is the big fish, is going to have a hard time putting on shows, what do you think about the independent companies, the Ring of Honors, Impact, CZW, overseas New Japan? They're very impacted. Good on them for trying to tell their governmental leaders that they're an essential business. They need some assistance too. Granted, that's not the exact verbatim, but they're trying to take care of their guys instead of firing them. Or AEW, and shifting to that, Francisco and Charles watched some wrestling. Yeah. Charles reached out to Tony Khan on the Twitter saying, hey, and listen, it was a pity plea. I understand, Tony, if it's a business, you got to fire some people. Hell, but you're holding on to Yannick and Django, whatever his name is, over in Jacksonville. So maybe you'll hold on to some of Yannick. I don't know how to say his name. Forgive me. I couldn't say the other guy's name earlier. I can't say his name.
Giannis Antetokounmpo? No.
He might could say, ironically, their defensive end in Jacksonville, Yannick and just Google it. And Jacque, thank you. I can barely say my own last name, so I can barely say my first name.
Andrew, we need to have that segment where you make us try to pronounce last names.
I'll work on it for next week.
I had a good one today, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Tabolsi over there, guy. Right, but not to lose track. So I said, hey, don't fire me. So we watched AEW. It kind of hurt a little bit And
Yeah.
it hurt. There was some stuff I liked, and there were some matches that were interesting. Like their promos are good because it's unscripted, or if it is scripted, it's lightly scripted. So I like the bubbly bunch with Jericho calling on his boys. You like a little bit of that goofiness, but that main event did not deliver. Jon Moxley, the formerly known as Dean Ambrose, who's the AEW champion, versus Jake Hager, formerly known as Jack Swagger, who also was a former world champion over WWE. There was a no disqualification or false count anywhere match. The match went about a good 45 minutes, and you can't put something like that, in my opinion, to start off as being technical wrestling, going back to technical wrestling. Hager looked a little bit out of it. I don't really remember him putting on 30-minute matches to begin with in WWE, let alone 15-minute matches. Mox tried. I just don't think they meshed well. And boy, Jake Hager, I wouldn't fight him in real life. The guy's a Bellator fighter. But he was one sweaty caveman, I gotta tell you.
Yeah, yeah, I noticed that. Well, we located the venue, was that little amphitheater or whatever that's literally on the butt end of the Jaguar Stadium, Everbank Field, or whatever they call it now.
Yeah, so we at least know, hey, if you want to pay us to be far away, I'll do it. Hell, listen, because they've been using wrestlers as a crowd. If you gave me a job, $500 a sit-in, I'll do it. I'll be the ultimate hype man for all your dudes. I'll put AEW on the map, baby. But it's still like working out. The two reasons why that match didn't work for me, aside from actually the in-ring style, is one, it was kind of built up as a blood feud. So if this is for a championship, I'm not going to try to out-wrestle you. I'm going to try to win. So Hager, Francisco, took 35 minutes just to use a chair?
Yeah, that was like towards the end of it.
And a lot of it tried to get into just pure wrestling, and it was something to see Moxley clothesline
when they said like the battle in the arena, whatever they were, the moniker they were giving it. I'm like, oh, okay. And yeah, look, I'm a noob, so when I think of this, I'm thinking like I'm thinking video game terms, all right, with regards to wrestling, because my only connection with wrestling was playing wrestling video games back in the day with my friend on N64 and GameCube. So I'm thinking like something akin to that, where it's like, they had no holds barred. That's what they were saying the entire night. Oh, no holds barred. Like, oh man, no holds barred. No, no F's given. I don't know, but it's like I'm thinking, all right, something extreme, Super Smash Bros. Just like in the arena or whatever, just jumping on top of chairs and trying to get at each other on the railings, like hitting each other and stuff like that. I didn't see any of that. I was looking for something extreme in that sense.
It wasn't. A lot of it was technical wrestling, and it's to show that Jon Moxley, your champion, is a very diverse wrestler, but Jake Hager is not the guy to do that with. There's some talent that you can show that kind of adaptability, but not Hager. And here's the other thing that didn't make sense to me. Jake Hager is in a faction. He's in the group. He's in the bubbly bunch, as I call him. I know that they call himself the inner circle, but the bubbly bunch is 10 times better, and I implore Chris Jericho to overtake with that name. So there's a twofold issue with that. One, if I'm in a stable and I know it's no disqualification, I know my boy is going to have a chance to have the best title at all, I'm going to interfere in that match. And if you're going to put Moxley over as a great champion, you have him go against the odds and not only have to fight Jake Hager, but beat up the guys for interfering to preserve his title and win. That's what you do to make a champion look strong. And they didn't have that at all. I mean, I understand we want to really keep the limitation of interactions, but one of the, Santana Ortiz came in. Sammy Guevara had wrestled earlier that night against Shug D or whatever his name was, and Jericho I don't think is there. I think he's just been showing up for commissary. So it didn't make sense for me, because if the Sports Goofs are around, and if like we went on ice, right? It was all three of us. It wasn't just Charles, Andrew, or Francisco. If they're like, you gotta get two people, we're showing up. We're gonna kind of win some stuff, right? We're gonna get some swag. So if the ultimate swag is the AEW Heavyweight Championship, why would I support my boy? So that's the outside. Maybe I'm demanding too much. I don't know. And the other thing is, sometimes in factions, there is something called hierarchy. And Chris Jericho was just the All Elite Wrestling Heavyweight Champion before he lost it to Jake Hager. And I understand the way they portray it, the bubbly bunch is they're brothers and stuff like that. But the hierarchy matters, because Should Jericho want that title? Can Jericho even go back for it if his own guy gets it? That's what creates the dissension, because you're not splitting the group up, obviously. Now, this is part of it, is that there's a lack of a mid-card title for Hager to pursue. And if he was to pursue it, it'd be the same thing as Sammy Guevara, who's chasing that TNT championship. But it doesn't make sense, right? Because the way we perceive this Chris Jericho persona in AEW is that he is the vain rock star that everybody should be glorifying. But so would I really want my boy to have that title? I can understand him not helping, and you could build a storyline on that if you need to down the road. And with Evolution the years back, when Randy Orton had beaten Chris Benoit for the heavyweight championship, and Triple H and Evolution betrayed Randy Orton because now he had gotten the prize that Triple H wanted. And there's even playback in that in the future when Batista won the Royal Rumble the following year, and Triple H is like, go sign this contract to go to the other brand and take that title, don't fight me. And Batista's like, yeah, buddy. And he's like, I'm gonna Batista bomb you now because I'm gonna take care of that title. Some things don't make sense, and I believe that wrestling works at its finest when it's simple. So if you don't have anybody aside from a match that just didn't mesh, didn't click for me, didn't click for Francisco, the storyline, if it's no DQ, let's bring in your boys. And also, does your main boy want his boy to have the belt that the boy wants? I don't know, man. That's just me. But needless to say, we're going to go back to wrestling. Vince sunkered me in. I'll be watching NXT. I'll be watching some clips of SmackDown. AEW, you're still going to get a little bit of my love because I'm invested in you, right? Because I have hope for you. I have hope that you can actually give me something competitive. You need to find Jon Moxley a proper opponent to really help elevate his title reign. Because, man, if you don't want to pull the trigger on Kenny Omega because he's in tag team, I get it, but I'm trying to figure out who is next to help you out. And I understand that you don't want to really do anything, but All In is next month, May 23rd. That's their pay-per-view. It's probably going to go without a live crowd either, but you got to make me invested because now is time of the essence. And that's all I got for you guys this week.
All right. Okay, so we're going to wrap things up here with our segment, The Real MVP. So, Andrew, can you please do the honors?
Of course. As always, my real MVP during the past couple of weeks is the essential workers of the world, your healthcare employees, your doctors, your nurses, employees at restaurants, grocery stores, our truckers, our delivery people, people working at shipment stores. I mean, I could go on for a long time with who is essential to us right now. But every single one of them, we love you. We appreciate you for helping us in a time like this, and we hope that you stay safe and healthy.
All right. Yeah. So many of them. Charles, outside of those people that we always thank, but we got another one that you posted.
I did, and it's pretty simple. It's your Lord and Savior. And
Our Lord and Savior.
The Miami Marlins Lord and Savior.
It's everyone's Lord and Savior.
My former past, but the man that you need to follow. The real Messiah man, Derek Jeter, because he's foregoing his $5 million salary to pay for the Marlins organization, for the workers who are there who can't be employed now, not the players. I think it's a good step in the direction. It seems very selfless. I think it's the right message. Understanding that Jeter is kind of just a puppet owner in a sense. There is a bigger owner in the background, but if you're talking about good press, good publicity, especially since it's in Miami, which for Florida has, I believe, I haven't checked the updated numbers, but I'm going to go on a guess here, still the highest rates of the CV kicking around. Or Dade County, maybe Broward has come into it. Let's not depress ourselves by looking at statistics and numbers. I'm just going off what I remember reading, but it's still a nice message. And, guys, this is going to be around for a while, contrary to certain governors in different states want to reopen everything and go from there because it's something's going to happen. How I feel about the sport industry. I don't even think baseball should be open, so that's just me, unless you're going to come back in July for plan, but who cares, right? Let's worry about that when we get there. But if you're going to have a high-end executive kind of make that sacrifice fall for the people who work under, because it's all the same organization, right? From the bottom up, top down, they all work for the same people, the same owner, and also helping out the people themselves. So it's to help out because there's some people who are truly dependent on that job. And as the numbers rise, unemployment, people get fired, there's going to be many hungry dogs fighting for one bone. So them doing this to help out, I think, is a very outstanding move. And, Jeter, for what it's worth, not that you care, not even that the viewers probably care, because we're glorifying a sports executive who was a former greatest player, maybe one of the greatest Yankees of all time, if not the greatest Yankee of all time, probably is. I would say so, myself, being biased. But good on you. You're the real MVP in the sports world for actually doing something constructive, as opposed to releasing 16 wrestlers during a pandemic. But whatever. Vince can do what he wants.
Alrighty. Okay. Well, anybody else before we go? Nah.
I'm good.
All right, we're good to go. So let's end it all. Thank you for everybody joining us today. And NFL draft happens this Friday. I might do a watch live stream reaction just for the heck of it, because what else are we going to do? Even though I never really watched the draft anyways. But I do have some investment this year, so I might as well. We'll have a Marlins versus Mets. If you want to join me for a very long Players We Remember to Forget, there's plenty of them that we'll be doing for All-Star Baseball 2003. So if you like old GameCube games, come on and join me this Thursday. And that's it. So I'm out. We're done. Adios.
Have a good night, everyone.
You guys want to see a good Money in the Bank match? Watch the one that Dean Ambrose won. I think it was 2017. Have fun. Have a good night.